On the morning the alpacas chased the HOA president across the drainage ditch, nobody in Cedar Hollow Estates was technically breaking any rules. Pamela Griggs certainly thought someone was. She sprinted in wedge sandals, clutching a clipboard and violation notices. Behind her, 3 alpacas trotted with festive bandanas flapping. A dozen neighbors watched from the fence line, phones out, capturing every second. On the other side stretched what had once been scrubland. Now there were fences, gates, a big cedar sign that read Coyote Draw Ranch, and me in a wide-brimmed hat, calmly sipping coffee. "Morning, Pam," I called. "You're trespassing on non-HOA land again." She pointed her clipboard at me. "You can't build a ranch behind a master-planned community." I smiled. "The CC and RS stop at the property line, and I own everything on this side now." Before the alpacas and ranch sign, there was just a guy who liked to camp in peace. My name is Caleb Rios. I work from home as a cybersecurity consultant. I live in Cedar Hollow Estates, a subdivision with matching mailboxes and a 92-page HOA handbook. I have simple hobbies: hiking, barbecues, and camping under the stars. I don't have time to drive to national parks every weekend, so I camped in my own backyard. Tent, smokeless fire pit, hammock. I kept it clean, quiet, out of sight. Unfortunately, the HOA existed in the form of Pamela Griggs, HOA president and full-time menace. Pamela had rules about everything. Approved mulch colors, window curtains, trash can visibility. So when I started camping in my backyard, it was only time before she was personally offended. It started with a note. Backyard tent structures are not harmonious with the community aesthetic. I looked at the tent, barely visible behind my 6-foot fence, and ignored it. The second note came with a photo. Pamela had zoomed in on my tent through a gap. Unapproved temporary structure. Remove within 24 hours. I took down the tent. But Pamela wasn't satisfied. Next came violations for my hammock, camp stove, and Yeti cooler she saw when my garage was open. One afternoon, I caught her filming me. "Just documenting," she said sweetly. "You realize I'm not running a KOA," I said. "In a tent," she sniffed. "Like a transient." "The HOA has standards," she replied. "If you wanted to camp, you should have bought a cabin in the woods." She escalated. She emailed the community about makeshift campgrounds. She proposed banning overnight backyard sleeping. She got the board to approve inspection walks. Neighbors gave me sympathetic looks. I tried being reasonable at an HOA meeting. Pamela smiled coldly. "Perhaps you should find a more appropriate hobby." That night, I scrolled through county property records. Then I noticed something. The scrubland behind Cedar Hollow wasn't owned by the developer. It was multiple parcels. And one, directly behind my street, was marked delinquent, tax sale pending. I smiled. The HOA didn't own that land. Nobody did. The county tax auction was in a fluorescent-lit room. I showed up in jeans. Pamela showed up in a blazer with an HOA board member. Of course she was there. The clerk announced Parcel 17B, approximately 15 acres backing Cedar Hollow Estates. Opening bid, $8,000. Pamela raised her hand. I raised mine faster. The bidding lasted 20 seconds. Pamela went to 9,000. I went to 12. She went to 12.5. I said calmly, 15. The room went quiet. Pamela turned around. "You," she hissed. I figured if the HOA's concerned about camping, I'd go where they don't apply. The clerk's gavel fell. Sold to bidder 43. Pamela whirled. "You can't sell land behind a community without consulting the HOA." The clerk frowned. "Ma'am, the HOA doesn't own it." 2 weeks later, I got a letter on HOA letterhead. Notice of violation, unauthorized development. It claimed the land was common area. I was in illegal possession. I was ordered to surrender rights or face property seizure. I laughed. Property seizure from an HOA? I drove to the county recorder. The clerk took one look. Oh, they messed up. He pulled up maps. The HOA's authority stops here. Everything past that ditch is yours. This letter is nonsense. If they're presenting this as legal, the county attorney might be interested. I contacted a real estate attorney. Short version, she said. Your HOA president is bluffing with documents close to fraud. She helped me structure the land so the HOA had zero say. Transformation happened gradually, then all at once. Surveyors marked the boundary. That common area Pamela referenced? Not HOA territory. Pamela shadowed the crew, arguing. The surveyor pointed to his map. The HOA's boundary is here. Everything else belongs to Mr. Rios. My attorney stepped forward. The HOA has no easements. If you continue representing otherwise, we may discuss your liability. Pamela filed complaints. Illegal campground. Unauthorized animals. Every time, inspectors checked my permits and shrugged. He's got proper zoning. He filed permits. There's nothing to cite. The true power shift happened at an emergency HOA meeting. Pamela stood at the front with a PowerPoint. She clicked to the next slide. Instead of her presentation, the screen filled with her threatening letter claiming the HOA could seize my land. My attorney walked to the front. Since Miss Griggs has been circulating misleading claims, we thought the community should see context. I've spoken with the county attorney's office. They're concerned about false property representations. They've opened a file reviewing whether this crosses into fraud. Pamela went pale. This is a smear campaign, she said shrilly. I raised my hand. I just wanted to camp in my backyard. The HOA president harassed me, then tried to strong-arm me out of land I legally bought. So I decided if I can't camp inside your rules, I'll camp outside them. A guy asked, so the ranch isn't in the HOA? Correct, I said. The ranch is outside your jurisdiction. Then why do I care? My kids love horses. Laughter rippled through. The board tabled the discussion. From that point, Pamela wasn't speaking with HOA authority. She was just a very angry neighbor watching her power slip. Coyote Draw Ranch came online in stages. Fence, gate, barn, goats, 3 alpacas, and a vintage Airstream. I listed campsites on an app, limiting to quiet guests. No amplified music, quiet hours after 9 p.m. I screened bookings personally. The first time kids squealed at the animals, I felt something unnot. Naturally, Pamela lost her mind. She videoed vehicles, emailed about transients and squatters. When she shouted at a dad setting up a tent, scaring his kids, I walked over. Pam, you're scaring my guests. This isn't a hotel, she snapped. You're running an unlicensed RV park. I pointed to the permit. The county disagrees. She escalated. I found the gate lock cut, goats loose. I installed cameras. A week later, footage showed Pamela with bolt cutters at 2:13 a.m. I turned it over to the sheriff. The deputy explained cutting locks on private property was criminal trespass. Further interference meant arrest. Then Pamela sent a community email at 11:43 p.m. Subject line, urgent. Possible human trafficking operation behind Cedar Hollow. Unknown vehicles. People in trailers overnight. The email triggered a county review. Within 48 hours, Pamela sat in a conference room with a deputy DA, sheriff's representative, and my attorney. The walls were beige. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. A stack of manila folders sat between them like evidence at trial. The DA slid piles across the table. False property claims on HOA letterhead. Emails asserting authority over land you don't control. Baseless trafficking accusations about a permitted business. Deploying law enforcement resources. Each stack seemed to make her shrink further into her chair. Pamela's mouth opened and closed. I was protecting the community, she whispered. The DA steepled his fingers. Oh. You abused your position. You may have crossed into defamation and fraud. We're considering filing formal charges. You did this to me, she said, looking at me with wide eyes. I shrugged. You shouldn't have messed with a guy whose job is reading fine print. The HOA board held a special session without Pamela. They reviewed everything. A week later, a certified letter went out. Effective immediately, the board has voted to remove you from HOA president for cause. Pamela appealed. The board responded with documentation titled All the Ways You Screwed Up, Exhibit A through Z. Insurance premiums went up after the carrier reclassified them as higher litigation risk. At a community meeting explaining the increase, fingers pointed at Pamela. Someone asked loudly, "Do our new dues cover your hobby of committing fraud on county letterhead?" Her social credit plummeted. Parents steered kids away. The book club disinvited her. The final blow came from property values. Having a tastefully run ranch with alpacas and 5-star reviews made Cedar Hollow more attractive. Listings bragged about adjacent boutique ranch. Meanwhile, Pamela's house lingered. Word spread. Comments asked, "Is this the neighborhood with the crazy HOA lady?" Her agent suggested a big price reduction. She sold at a loss.